I like slapped a ton of reverb on them because I love reverb and it makes everything sound better. Plus, we gotta keep the vibes going, you know what I mean? Hi, I'm Emily Baer, and I am a composer, I'm a songwriter, a pianist, and a singer. When Bridgerton the Musical kind of took off this year, I had a ton of young people asking me all the time, what are those instruments you're using? Where can I find them? And I would always recommend Spitfire products. And I started, tagging Spitfire and all like my responses on social media, and they slid up on my DMs, and we started a conversation, and then it kind of turned into, we should do something together. And here we are. Spitfire approached me with like this general concept to be able to collaborate with composers and instrumentalists all over the world. And they basically said, write whatever you want for 90 seconds. And so I did. I collaborated with Ro, who is an incredible cellist, and Laura, who is an absolute beast on the harp, and Pena, which is a percussion trio. I think the more brains, the better. And I always love to hear how other incredible musicians like interpret the same thing that I'm doing. And so like sending the project and the music to Ro and Laura and Pena and hearing what their magical brains created was really, really fun and very, very cool. I don't know, I tend to gravitate towards like writing dramatic pieces that are a little on the darker side. So it doesn't really come as a surprise to me that this is a dramatic sounding piece. It's a little dark. But there's also like notes of like, it feels a little fairy tale-ish to me. Getting ready for a session, it's such a wide spectrum. If I'm writing for a specific purpose, then I'll try to come in with some ideas and like stuff that I've tried out and like already. Sometimes I'll just start playing stuff until I find something that everyone is responding to. When working with an instrumentalist, like I just love getting in a room with them and experimenting and like trying a bunch of stuff. I think I came up with just the bass part first. There was like a bass patch over here that has like a bunch of different bass patches. There's like a, which is just so freaking cool. And that's in the background softly, and I think it comes louder. Those bell things, it's also another Orbis loop that I was like, this is dope. But the sample is like just a teensy bit, like it's not perfectly synchronized to the beat, so it was annoying me a little bit. I'm not the biggest fan of sending unfinished music because I'm a perfectionist. I feel like most musicians and composers are, but I can tell like where the music is supposed to end up and what it should sound like, and I'm not sure everyone else is like gonna be able to hear through a demo because of course they do not live in my brain. But I didn't want to send like a fully fleshed out piece of music because then the other composers and instrumentalists wouldn't have any space to do anything. So I just send them the stems and the BPM, and the parts were like relatively simple to play. And then the rest was more just like experimenting and trying weird things. Hello, nice to meet you.
I'm so excited to add some harp to it, and I love so much of it. I'm so pumped.
Laura, I've actually known through Instagram. We're like Instagram friends for a little bit, and I've been in awe of her for many years. There's really nothing like having real people on a track. No matter how good your demo sounds, like as soon as you add even one person on it and have like that human touch, it just makes it 10 times better. Pena, when I was on the Zoom with them, they were in like this incredible studio, and I could see like a bunch of instruments in the background.
I'm Magnus. The three of us are a band, basically. It's a kind of percussion-driven electronic project that's very heavily influenced by like Afro-Cuban and Latin music.
I play a lot of Latin stuff, congas mainly. I'm also a percussionist and also very much into the Latin thing.
The first few drummers that I worked with when I was little were Cuban, and they're very particular about their rhythm. And I remember he used to like always teach me montunos and get really mad at me when I like wasn't hitting the groove right. I feel like being a percussionist and a composer is such a dope duo because like your options are so limitless. And I'm honestly very, very excited to hear all of the spice you add to this track. Like,
yeah, we'll put our thinking caps on.
I'd like to ask you, how can I be of service to your vision?
Yeah, so I think just initially, there's a few like cello lines that I have kind of popping in and out of it. But the coolest part about having a real person play is that you can do all sorts of interesting things with the instrument. If you want to do some like vibey, like harmonic things, then I can like put a bunch of plugins on it and make it sound really cool, almost like a lab synth.
You might be interested in getting kind of out there and doing a little more with sound design and textures. And so you answered my question, and that's very exciting because I love doing that. So I can send you a bunch of harmonic stuff and like kind of ponticello stuff that is really great.
I love that. So dope. Row, I think they named them vibey takes or something, but they were so cool and they added so much interesting texture. Aside from the melody and the pizzicato, I asked Row to do a bunch of passes of all sorts of random stuff, some like vibey textures and playing with the bow and whatever. And what they sent back is just so cool.
In what we do with Pena, we use quite a lot of this Moroccan drum, like a frame drum, you know? That's something that we use quite a lot of. I don't know if like you feel that was fitting.
At least try it. I mean, I would just trust your instincts because obviously you're doing something right and do all sorts of weird stuff. You know, you do the thing when you're writing music, it's like, oh God, this is horrible. And then you're like, oh, maybe not. And then you're like, oh no, it's terrible. And then you're like, I like it.
Always on that kind of cycle, isn't it? From like...
Yeah, every time I get a new project and I've talked to so many people and I'm like, does this ever go away? And they're like...
Oh, that's not very comforting.
Oh my God. And then Pena, on top of all the percussion that they sent a choir that they made. And her voice is so cool. That like, if I play it, wait, can I play it? It's so cool. So like very different, but that's what I love about collaborating.
What about any type of like subtle like effects like for texture vibe?
If you can make some vibey things, I can like add a bunch of plugins to it and make it sound really cool. I mean, honestly, if you just want to like, the more the merrier, and then I can kind of like take and mess with some things and put what I want in and take what I want out or whatever. Like, honestly, the more the merrier.
Amazing. Oh my gosh.
That's what's gonna make this special is all of you guys like putting their, you know, magical twist to it. Laura, her glissandos that she did kind of like very light running glissandos up and down, and arpeggios that were so stunning. I heard that and I was like, yes. No matter how hard I try, I will never be able to play a glissando like that on the piano. It just won't happen. When you work on a piece of music for a lot of hours, like you kind of become ear blind to it. After spending a few hours like putting all the tracks together, making it sound sort of cohesive and everything, I went away and came back and listened with fresh ears and I was like, oh, this is special. I love this.
Wow, you did a lot of work, Emily. That sounds killer. You definitely captured that fantasy vibe that you had mentioned in our conversation.
Definitely could see this in a very sensual, powerful, almost like a very sexy scene, something very emotive and passionate.
Really happy to hear that you used these sort of more slightly Latin-y, Afro-Latin kind of grooves that we often use in Peña. I think it really helps the music float along.
Some really, I think, important takeaways from this project include, like, one, that we're able to do this remotely and come out with a product that everyone is inspired and feels really, really good about. And two, that the magic isn't lost when we're doing our own parts of this in separate places, in separate rooms. Like, you still feel it when it all comes together. And three, like, being able to meet and work with these 3 other composers and instrumentalists was really, really inspiring. I just want to give a huge shout out to the 5 instrumentalists and composers who, like, all lended their incredible talent and individuality to this piece. Jim, Lily, and Magnus from Peña, Ro and Laura, thank you so much. Like, your magic is what made this come alive.